Hello, everyone. Today we'll be sharing an exciting collaborative effort we've been working on with the support of several local, state, and federal agencies for the past 6 months. The Colorado Post Wildfire Flooding Guide was put together to help individuals and communities in Colorado be better prepared for post-wildfire flooding and navigate the recovery process.
Hi, thanks for joining us today. Unfortunately, because we cannot be there in person to talk with you, we just wanted to include this slide with our photos to help you put a face to the voice. My name is Elise Jarrett, and I'm a water resources planner out of the Sacramento district with the Corps of Engineers. I've been with the Corps for about 2 years and have been involved in many Silver Jacket projects, including the development of a flood after fire guide for California. It's been great to take what was learned from that experience and assist Colorado with the development of a guide for the state.
Hello, everyone. I'm Danae Olsen. I've worked for the Army Corps of Engineers Sacramento district for a little over 4 years, but I'm relatively new to the world of flood risk management. It's been fascinating to learn about the work that's been done and currently being done through the Silver Jackets program. Working on the Colorado Post Wildfire Flooding Guide effort has been a great experience and a wonderful opportunity to meet some of our project partners. I look forward to continued partner collaboration on the Colorado Post Wildfire Flood Guide, as well as on future projects.
So for the outline of our presentation today, we'll be sharing the following information with you. First, Danae will share what the Silver Jackets program is and some of the project types that have been performed underneath it. Then I'll discuss what post-wildfire hazards are and why there is a higher risk of flooding following a wildfire. Then we'll move into talking specifically about the Colorado Flood After Fire Guide. We'll provide an overview of what the project purpose is, discuss the interagency collaboration, and then share the specific content available in the guide. At the end of the presentation, we've left some time to answer any questions you may have for us. As you're listening, please remember just to write down those questions and send them in, and we'll get those addressed at the end.
So what is Silver Jackets? Silver Jackets is a team comprised of federal, state, local, and tribal agencies working towards reducing flood risk. The Silver Jackets motto, as seen on their logo, is many partners, one team. Through Silver Jackets, one of the goals is to have a team put together before an event actually happens. So there are state-led interagency teams that bring together federal, state, and local agencies, all for the common goal of reducing flood risk. Silver Jackets has interagency projects that usually last anywhere from 12 to 18 months, and the Army Corps of Engineers support is usually around $150,000 per project. Each dollar invested by the Army Corps of Engineers leverages another dollar in project-focused partner contributions. So following an event, there are 4 phases in the flood risk management life cycle model. There are response, recovery, mitigation, and preparation and training. A lot of great Silver Jackets efforts are being done under each of the different phases of the flood risk management cycle. You can see some examples of the type of projects that fall under each phase of the cycle. The Colorado Post Wildfire Flooding Guide falls under the recovery phase of this model. Next, we'd like to talk about what post-wildfire hazards exist and why there's a higher risk for flood after fire.
So why might a flood after fire guide be necessary or beneficial to a community. One of the reasons is that it addresses and raises awareness on many post-wildfire hazards that can exist and may not be on people's radars. Just because the flames have been put out doesn't mean that the danger is gone. Hazards can exist for weeks, months, and even up to years following a wildfire. Some examples of post-wildfire hazards include flash flooding and debris flows, rock falls, structural damage, road instability, and damaged trees, which is shown in the picture on the right. Because the focus of this guide is flooding after fire, a question might be, well, why is there a higher risk of flooding following a fire? The reason for that is that when a wildfire moves through an area, it alters the soil properties. Usually the soil acts like a sponge. When it rains, it absorbs a lot, if not all, of that precipitation. However, during a fire, the heat can destroy the protective ground cover and create a water repellent layer, which then prevents water infiltration and can cause excessive runoff downstream. Here's a really great graphic by the National Weather Service that depicts how this happens. So on the left side column, you can see what the environment looks like before a wildfire. That there's vegetation present on top, which helps hold the soil in place. And then there's a layer of litter or organic material that sits on top of the subsurface soil. And this organic material can be comprised of needles, leaves, grass, bark, things like that. In the middle column, it shows what happens during a wildfire. When the vegetation and litter burn, water repellent compounds that are found in the soil begin to vaporize and then condense, which leads to the situation following a fire. So in the third column, it's showing what that looks like. When a fire is finally put out, the area is left with ash and burnt topsoil. And then as you can see, the blue layer is the water repellent layer underneath. This becomes very problematic when a rainstorm comes through, because when it rains, the soil can no longer act like that sponge and absorb the water. It now acts similar to pavement and runs off and can cause flash flooding and debris flows downstream. Because a flash flood can morph into a debris flow, and these two are considered to be two of the most dangerous post-fire hazards, I wanted to talk a little bit more about this with you. So as I mentioned earlier, soil absorption properties are comprised or compromised during a fire and take less rainfall than normal to trigger flash flooding than it otherwise would have. A common misconception is thinking that, well, just because a fire may have occurred several miles away from my community means that I won't be impacted. You may not be impacted from the fire directly, but flash floods and debris flows can actually travel miles downstream and impact those communities. And the top graphic on the right side is showing the remnants of a debris flow through Durango. And these can happen very quickly, sometimes almost as fast as the National Weather Service radar can pick them up and issue a warning. So it's very important to be listening to the news and to subscribe to weather and emergency alerts in order to be as prepared as possible. And a general rule of thumb is that if a ½ inch of rainfall falls in less than an hour's time, that is sufficient conditions to cause flash flooding in a burn area.
Following an event, it can be difficult to navigate through all of the websites, guides, and other resources that are currently available. The goal of the Post-Wildfire Flood Guide is to create one consolidated resource that could help communities and individuals start on the road to recovery and plan for post-wildfire hazards. This involved collaboration with the Colorado agencies and subject matter experts, which was a critical and foundational component to the development of the guide. The creation and compilation of this guide wouldn't have been possible without interagency collaboration. There are approximately 10 contributing agencies from local, state, and federal levels who have helped to bring this guide together. There's a great collaboration continuum graphic that we'd like to share. It demonstrates how individuals, or in this case, individual agencies, start out self-reliant, focused on their own missions, data collection, research, outreach, etc. But once interagency communication begins, there is the possibility for shared information, shared resources, and shared work, resulting in shared responsibility. The creation of the Colorado Post Wildfire Flooding Guide is a product of our agency's partnership.
So in addition to covering information on post-wildfire hazards, which I talked about earlier, the guide provides a wealth of practical guidance and resources on some of the following material. So it includes information on how to determine your fire risk. And so this section includes resources that allow you to look up your area and find maps pertaining to flood and fire risk. It includes information on how to stay safe before, during, and after a fire. And this section has checklists and information on steps that you should be taking or at least thinking about. How to plan ahead for the recovery process. There are a number of resources already made available to provide information on how to start recovering from a fire, but also how to plan ahead and be better prepared for a future event. This includes looking into insurance, resiliency planning, and hazard mitigation planning. There's information that discusses how to mobilize your community. Mobilizing a team or group of teams in your community can serve as a crucial part of the recovery process. Doing so builds strong communication plans. It identifies leaders within the community and assisting agencies on their roles and strategies. And it also includes information on recovery support programs. This entails programs and services provided by both government and non-government organizations for individuals, families, businesses, and communities. And I'd like to provide you all with a quick status update on the guide. It's currently under review with the project partners, and we're hoping to have it released this fall. A big part of the document's success is to get it into the hands of as many communities and individuals as possible in order for its use and to be implemented. So if you or anyone you know would like to have it or have some connections to help with the distribution, either electronically or posting to a website, please reach out to Danae or myself and we can get those noted. So thank you all for your attendance today. Danae and I were very excited to have this opportunity to present on this recent effort and look forward to the release of the guide. At this time, we will go ahead and open up to the group to see if there's any questions, and we will get those addressed. Thanks again.